Welcome to another episode of the Hoopsfix podcast with me, your host, Sam Nita, full-time British basketball advocate. And today's guest is one of the most requested in recent months, is none other than Sam Alajiki. He is the third player in the class of 2021 to commit to a high major program. He's going to Cal for the 2021-2022 season. Currently plying his trade in the US. Yes, I claim him. I do get some flack from the Irish for claiming him and putting the GB flag whenever I post his content and stuff that he's doing in the US. But yeah, he was born. Well, he was raised in Ireland, but came to England at 10, 11 years old, and ended up sort of playing basketball, taking it seriously with the Kent Crusaders program with Jesse Sazant, who obviously was a recent guest on the podcast. So I consider him UK developed. He is British developed. That was where he picked up a ball, and that is where he started taking it seriously. Even though he does represent the Irish national team, he doesn't have a British passport. Just to get that out of the way. But Sam, he's a great character, someone I wanted to have on the show, and it was really interesting just to kind of get into his story and talk about his journey. He spent most of his career at Kent Crusaders, playing for the National League programs and the EABL program before making the switch to Barking Abbey for half a season, and then departing to the US. Went to a school in Virginia, Beckley Prep, before moving to New Jersey, where he is now at St Benedicts, committed to Cal last summer. But yeah, an interesting story. We've gone into a lot of interesting conversation about sort of the US route, why he was so intent on going the US route, how the US compares to, say, Division 1 men, what the level of exposure is like, just the mentality around it is something I enjoy doing. I'm well aware that I'm getting older, and so I'm out of touch as much with what the younger players think. So to get an opportunity like this to kind of pick his brain and kind of hear what he has to say about it was super interesting. So yeah, really good conversation, really refreshingly honest and candid, and I think that there was a lot of insight there. So I hope you enjoy it as much as I did. Anyway, as always, before we do get into the show, please take 2 seconds to check out our Patreon account, patreon.com/hoopsfix, patreon.com/HOOPSFIX. There you can start to give us a monthly or annual contribution of as much or as little as you'd like. That goes a long way in helping us do the work that we're doing. So for the price of a cup of coffee, for the price of a sandwich, you won't even notice the money leaving your account every month. It goes into our account and helps fund this work that we're doing, trying to grow the British basketball media landscape. So please go and check it out, patreon.com/hoopsfix. As always, if you're watching on YouTube, leave a comment below. Let me know what you think about the Sam Alajiki interviews, and maybe any suggestions for future prospects that you would like to hear from. If you want some one-on-one interaction, as always, drop me an email, sam@hoopsfix.com. That's fully private, just between me and you. Or you can reach out to me on every single social media platform at Hoopsfix. Anyway, that is enough from me. Here is this week's show with Sam Alajiki. Sam, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Glad to have you here, even though your accent is sounding very American these days. What's going on? You've been there, like a year and a half? Was it 18 months you've been in the States now?
Yeah, it's just been a year, I think. Just a year and a month. I got there in January, so yeah.
How are you feeling about your accent? You still feel it's quite English, or you feel like it's going wayward?
Quite English, but I feel like it depends on the person sometimes. If I'm with my English friends, I sound English. If I'm with my teammates, sometimes I sound more American. So
I was going to say, when people listen to this back now, it's going to sound like I'm making it up because you've reverted to very much English. But I can assure people that are listening that for the first 5 minutes before we started recording, you were sounding very American. Anyway, I wanted to have you on. You were very requested. Obviously, after we've spoken with Cam, we've spoken with Jeremy, and sort of class 2021. You're the three guys going to high major programs. So I think it's great to kind of have you guys on, sort of have this little snapshot of your career sort of now, and kind of hear how you're feeling about it, and then in years to come, ideally look back on it, see how it all panned out. And and the place that I always like to start is going back to the beginning. So I get a little bit of blowback every time we cover you, because the Irish come at me and they're like, he's Irish, he's not British, blah, blah, blah. So I think we should get into all of that and just make it clear to people my stance on it, and obviously your actual background. So let's go back to the beginning and talk about kind of where you grew up, how you actually ended up in England, what point you come to England, and then how you actually ended up first starting playing basketball.
All right. So I grew up in a little town called Dundalk Island, but it's a small town in Ireland, but I think it's a big basketball town. Andy Okafor, I don't know, he played with me at the Harris tournament. Like, we grew up around the corner from each other, so I think it's probably, in my opinion, the best basketball town in Ireland right now. So, so I grew up there, went to primary school, did all the normal kid stuff. I played a lot of, Irish sports. I played Gaelic football. I played hurling. I played a lot of soccer, football, whatever you call it. But yeah, so I played soccer. That was my main sport. I love soccer. But so then, when I was 11, my mum actually wanted us to move to England. She thought we'd have a better education, a better chance at life. So we moved to Essex. I lived in a town called Tilbury in Essex, actually. And I went to a school called Stanford the Hope. I was still trying to play soccer. I was trying to go, play for West Ham Academy. Didn't work out. Or I didn't know it was going to be that good. So that happened. So and then I did that year in year 7. And then in year 8, I moved to Kent. And my mum was going to send us all to grammar schools. We're going to go to this school called NKS, Northern Natural Grammar. And then she was like, no, Sam, you're going to academy. I met this guy. His name is Jesse. So she said, okay, let's visit the school. That was the first time I met Jesse when I was about 12. So I met him in that summer before year 8. And he showed me academy. I still wanted to play football. I knew there was a football academy there. So I tried to, join the football academy too. I ended up playing with the football and basketball academy until about halfway through year 9, I would say. And then, I had a talk with the football coach and Adam Davies, actually. His name was Dean. Dean was like, yeah, you should probably play basketball. It's probably, you're going to be better. Have a higher ceiling. So, yeah, I started actually grinding out basketball because before that it was Sunday league, academy practice, go to basketball, I'd miss basketball to play Sunday league, So, yeah, things like that. So, yes. And then I just kept on working from like year 9, year 10. I played EABL in year 10 actually, but I averaged like 5 points, so I wasn't a high impact player. I think it was year 11, the year I actually, started, things started clicking for me. I actually felt like a real basketball player in year 11. So yeah, that was
you hadn't picked up a basketball, played any basketball in Ireland or anything before you came to England?
Oh no, I actually did. I played basketball in Ireland in primary school, but I kept getting cut from the team, so I just ended up quitting. Like, I was still tall. Like, I was 11. I was probably about 5'10", 5'11". I was tall.
Yeah.
So, but I couldn't play. I wasn't good, so I just kept getting cut.
And so football became the focus?
Yeah, football was my focus. I was good. I was really good.
Was it hard to give up football? We hear a lot of players that talk about kind of having to make a decision at some point whether or not they're going to take the basketball thing seriously and kind of give up their football aspirations as well. And of course, in the UK, I think for young players, it's the pathway in football is so much clearer, isn't it? It's like, there's the Premier League, you can earn millions, there's a future in it, like 100%. I want to do that. I want to be able to provide for my family. Where obviously basketball's a little bit more of a sketchy road. But yeah, how difficult was it for you to kind of say, okay, I'm gonna pack it? Well, not necessarily pack it in, but I'm gonna put my efforts and focus on basketball.
I felt like the decision obviously was hard, but like I think it was something that's definitely like a lot of things led up to it. Like, obviously, the more I focused on other things, the less I was playing football. There was other guys who were getting better than me in my position. I ended up I stopped starting after a while, and after a while, it didn't become as fun because I wasn't the best anymore. So, yeah, it was quite easy to let go when it happened, but the process of actually letting it go was kind of hard for me. Yeah.
Did you find the move from Ireland to England difficult? Like, is there anything that sticks out in your head, memories wise, that were sort of shocks culturally or anything like that?
Culturally, I think it was okay because, like, I'm Nigerian and I was around Nigerians. I was living in Essex, so I was around a lot of Nigerians. But one thing was, like, I was a black kid with an Irish accent, and everyone made fun of me. So yeah, that whole year 7 year, I was trying to learn the English accent. I think I actively learned it. I think if I didn't actively learn it, I'd probably still sound Irish, but I had to learn it just to stop making getting made fun of actually. So yeah.
Did you find that difficult, or was it funny to you? Like was it actually a point of pain when you look back, like, or was it a joke?
It was a joke to them, but like when you're the subject of the joke, it's usually not, it's usually not that funny. I didn't really find it funny. I was kind of just frustrated, like, why can't they just, accept my voice? And like, I would say certain things like ball. I'll say like ball, ball, ball. And they'd be like, no, it's ball, it's ball. And they just make fun of me. I'm like, okay, mate. So, yeah.
So okay, so you obviously you met Jesse. Just for context for people listening, that's Jesse Sazant. He obviously was a previous recent guest on the podcast. Kind of, can you talk about like your early interactions with him and sort of the impact that he had on your early days, sort of when you first started falling in love with basketball, I guess?
So early on, like year 8, year 9, like basically until I was good enough to play EABL. I wasn't really interacting with Jesse as much as you think I would have been. He was focusing on the EABL guys because, that was like James Lloyd time actually when I first joined the school. So yeah, like Dan Akin as well, all them guys. So I was mostly working with what's his name, Coach Adam Davies. He was the one doing all my workouts, my individuals, worked me out every day. I like when I was a kid, I was kind of a prick. So sometimes we had a bumpy road because I was proper cocky as well. So, I mean, but he stuck with me, and I appreciate him for that because he could have easily just been like, yeah, this kid is stupid, he's cocky, he's arrogant, but he stuck with me.
In what sort of ways were you difficult? Like how did that translate onto the court? Like when you're trying to be coach and stuff. Like what kind of things were you doing that made you difficult at that point?
Like, how can I explain it? I think when I was a kid, like it was easy to dominate, obviously, because I was like big and strong, and I could actually like handle the ball and take it to the rack, and I would just do stupid stuff. Like I remember I made my first 3 in a game. I walked down the court, I was like, yes. And coach was like, "Why are you celebrating? We're down 15." I remember it was actually against Brighton under 14. So yeah, like things like that, just little things, and there was also some big things as well, but. Yeah.
How do you think? Like, what do you think that sort of that ended up changing just as a natural occurrence from growing up, maturing as you got older, or do you feel like was there any like specific moment where whether it's a coach that took you to the side and sat you down and just said, "Look, Sam, like you got to kind of sort it out. You can't be doing this and this and this," or like kind of what do you think it was that changed it for you? That changed the attitude?
A lot of it was like. It was a little gradual. I was also like kind of a menace in school as well, and like at that time. So I mean, but I was still getting good grades. That was my thing. I always had like straight A's, but like I think it was gradual and just seeing people in front of me. Like that was the time. Like Amin Adamu, RJ Iorok. I think when I was like coming into year 10 or 11, Ade Adebayo as well. I used to just watch those guys because they would play in our Brompton gym NBL games sometimes, D1. And I would just watch their demeanor. And I was like, they're good basketball players and they're nothing like how I'm acting, So, I kind of just changed gradually just watching guys older than me become more humble and, actually walk the walk instead of just talking. So, yeah.
So you kind of started taking it seriously, 12, 13-ish, but then it wasn't until year 11 that it really started clicking where you kind of thought, okay, like you're getting pretty decent, you're all right, yeah? Is that fair assessment of the timelines?
Like I think I was taking it seriously like year 10, like properly seriously, and then like realizing my potential and going all out was probably probably year 11 playing the ABL.
Okay. And so what happened with the England U15 program, Copenhagen stuff? Because you were involved with the program, right? But actually didn't end up making the final 12 that went to the tournament.
No passport. That was basically it. I mean, I don't think it's much more than that. We were trying to get a passport. They were all trying to help me, but it was just no passport. So. But
the thing is, the Copenhagen tournament doesn't require a passport, right? Because it's not a FIBA licensed tournament. So ultimately, it's up to the program. Because I'm pretty sure the under-15 development program has had guys without passports before, because obviously they've been working on it with the intention that they're going to get that passport later on, and so it's worth having the player involved with the program at that early stage, because they're going to be involved with the program later once the passport comes through. And was it like, were you privy to the conversations that was going on, and kind of what happened with it, or was it just kind of like you just don't know?
Was that the Spanish coach, that under-15s group? I think.
Yeah.
Okay. Actually, the under-15s group, like, I was okay, but I don't think I was that good. Like, I don't think, like, I was good. Like, one of my best friends, Shagan, I don't know if you know him, Shagan
Shodanki, yeah.
Yeah, he didn't go as well, but, like, he was good enough to go, but it was like, and he was better than me. Like, in that time, like, I wasn't even that serious. I still looked up to Shagan because he was good. Like, he played England he went to England on the 14 camp. All that stuff was kind of a dream to me. So I think even being involved in that was kind of like, you know, something else that is just helping me like realize my potential, realizing how good I could be and if I belong with these guys or not.
Were you very much still focused at that point of trying to represent England GB?
Yeah, I would say so, yeah.
At what point did it become Ireland?
What point did it become Ireland? I think when I put in my passport application and got denied, I was just like, okay, I'm not trying again. I'm not gonna spend money to, you know.
So you paid, you did that, or your family did that out of your own pocket to try and sort out the citizenship.
Yeah.
Oh, and how old were you when you did that?
I think that was just after Copenhagen. So yeah.
Okay, so it was around when you were 15 or whatever. Well, it was rejected on what basis?
My dad still lives in Ireland, so it was like they didn't know if I was permanently, you know, living there. So yeah.
Okay. And so then at that point, it's like, were you always in your back of your head? You're like, well, you know, I've got an Irish passport, and now I can potentially represent Ireland, and so there's a fallback there essentially.
Yeah, there was a fallback to playing the Euros, but it was like I wasn't thinking, because that time their under 18 team was Division C, and I was like, I don't really want to play in Division C. I think working out for this song would probably be better for me. So I guess I wasn't really focused on playing on Ireland. But like when my friends started reaching out to me, who played basketball as well, to play for Ireland, I was like, okay, sure, I'll give it a go. I'll go to camp, I guess.
Have you still got like a close, obviously previously, because you've only represented the 3-on-3 team, right, at the European? Yeah. But do you have like previous to that, like do you still have like a sort of close network of friends in Ireland from where you'd grown up, or kind of like obviously as you get older, you know, when I think to when I was 17, 18, 19, like how many of my friends from when I was 10, 11 was I still friends with? Probably not so many, because I formed a lot more of my friendships in secondary school, you know. Like, did you still have a lot of close relationships with people in Ireland at that point?
Yeah, just like the guys, because I used to just go back home every half term.
Oh, you were going back often. Okay. Okay, makes sense. Okay, so 15, 16, start playing EABL, and that's kind of like in your head, you know, you're starting to get a bit more serious about it and try to really make something of yourself. What was kind of your mindset at that point? Like, what was the aims, the aspirations? What were you trying to achieve? Like, in your head, did you start thinking, okay, this is something that potentially I could get a scholarship to the States, and that's what I want to work towards? Or were you just thinking, you know, I feel like I could potentially be one of the better players in the ABL, that's what I want to work towards? Like, kind of how were you approaching it?
Like, for me, it was just, it's going to sound, I don't know how it's going to come off, but for me, it was just, like, proving to Jesse I was good enough for basketball, like, to actually play. Like I could be on the floor. That was my biggest thing. Like, just, like, getting the trust of Coach Jesse to be on the floor. So, yeah, that was what it was in my freshman year for me, I think. Obviously,
you know, Jesse can be difficult at times. Like, you know, he says to himself, he can be quite harsh, but he knows it's obviously it comes from a good place. It's in the best interest of the players. Did you have any sort of difficult interactions with Jesse, or kind of like, was it always like you kind of always felt like, you know, he was pushing you and that actually made you better in the long term?
Yeah, me and Jesse never had anything like really difficult, because it was like my freshman year, I don't think I was good enough to have any difficult interactions with the head coach. And then remember, my sophomore year, that was actually when Coach Adam took over. So I only got head coached by Jesse for 1 year. So
Okay.
we didn't really have anything bad.
But it was still that driver in your head of like, you want to prove to Jesse that you're good enough.
Yeah.
Even though he wasn't the coach anymore. But it was obviously he was still around the program.
Well, yeah, I guess. Yeah.
Okay, interesting. And of course, the other thing, and I remember that the early footage of you in the EABL was just like the physicals, like the long arms, like the wingspan is ridiculous. Like, what's your wingspan? It's like, what is it, 7'1"?
7'2", 7'2".
7'2", and you're now officially measured at what, 6'7"?
Yeah, 6'7".
6'7", 7'1" wingspan. And have you done any vertical jump testing recently?
Recently, no, but last time I did it was summer, and I was 42, but
42.
max 44.
Max 44.
Yeah.
Wow. So obviously you have and you had, from the start, like some very impressive physical gifts. How difficult was it to, I guess, is it like that raw stuff comes naturally, right? It's like you have it, but then to develop the skill level, to then be able to know how to use those physical gifts to work with the skills becomes a bit more challenging. Like, do you remember sort of that skill development phase and how difficult it was and what it was that specifically that you were trying to focus on?
Man, it was Coach Adam and Billy, so that's basically who I worked out with the whole time. It was, I would say, when I was first starting to play basketball, it was tough, but like I was so used to working out and playing basketball by the time I was like year 10, year 11 that, it was just, I loved it anyway. So I was just going in the gym, doing what I need to do, getting out, lifting, and then going home basically. So I don't think it was difficult, but one thing that was difficult for me at that time was definitely shooting, because, I don't know, like until you find your shot, and everyone knows what I'm talking about, but like until you find your shot, the shooting is kind of, you're just in the dark. So for me, I spent a lot of time in the dark. I feel like someone who really helped me, I think, was Mateoko's dad, actually, Coach Tamas. So he worked at Canterbury for 1 year as well when Mate was at Canterbury, and like he was, I think, when I first started shooting and like making shots, like I'd make 3 shots in a row, and my mind would be blown. Like I think it was with Tamas actually. So yeah.
When you talk about what goes into finding your shot, like, was it a case of just showing up at practice, getting reps up? Were you doing a lot of work outside of the allotted hours as part of the academy program? Like, kind of talk about your sort of, I guess, work ethic, whether or not you feel like you had a strong work ethic at that point.
I mean, I definitely did. It was work every day, like, because I was still playing NBL 16s. Like, I was still practicing NBL 16s, practicing EABL, I was lifting, and then do my individual workouts in the day. And then when I'd go home, I'd probably shoot outside, because I had like a grass court, like it was a basketball rim, but it was all grass outside my mum's house. So then I would shoot there if it wasn't muddy. And then basically, yeah.
So you did, how many years did you end up doing with the Crusaders or in Canterbury?
In total, year 8, year 9, year 10, year 11, so 4.
Yeah, 4. And then, of course, you made the decision to switch to Barking Abbey for sixth form, year 12. Like, what made you come to that decision? Why did you choose to make the switch?
So initially, I thought I was gonna just, like go to the States or like go to Europe after year 11.
Was that the intention? You were trying to leave. You were trying to leave as soon as you finished your GCSEs.
I was just trying to go to the States. Like, actually, good story. At the end of year 10, I actually tried to go to the States, which is something a lot of people don't know. I was going to play in Texas, and my visa actually got denied. I think they were just being a bit iffy with me, but it is what it is.
Why were you so intent on going the US route? Why did you feel like you needed to be in a situation where you were going to a US high school rather than staying in the UK?
I was just seeing all these kids that I thought I was better than, and getting recognition. And it was my freshman year, a lot of freshmen were getting offers, like, and I was like, I'm definitely better than this kid, like, and they're getting offers, and a college coach hasn't called me, so it's like,
You mean you're talking about English kids getting offers?
No, like American kids, like.
How did you know you were better than them? Like kids you'd seen on video or whatever?
Yeah, I'd see him on video and be like, I'll definitely have him, you know?
And so the interesting thing for me is, and that's why I like having these conversations with you younger guys, because it's just interesting to kind of get in the mindset, because obviously I can see things as a independent observer, and I've seen, you know, over the 10, 11 years that I've been doing this, I've kind of seen the waves of things that have changed, and I think that we kind of got to a period where a lot of players weren't going to high school anymore. Like there was a stage where every player was doing at least a year or of high school or prep school to kind of get used to the sort of make the transition into the American game, get that exposure, try to get looks if they hadn't already got looks. And then we kind of went through a period where, you know, a bunch of players were actually able to go straight to the US on scholarship to college from the UK without needing that time at high school. Like, what was it in your mind that made you feel like it was necessary for you to go the high school route rather than stay, whether it be at Canterbury, whether it be at Barking Abbey, until you were 18, 19, and then go direct from the UK?
Like, at that time, like, me playing Division 1, like, I hadn't had that conversation with anyone. So, like, I was just trying to get it all, basically. I was trying to get everything. And I knew, like, going to America would probably be the quickest way.
What made you feel like that though? What made you feel like that? Like, what was it that made you have that inside of you?
Because it's just like, I just feel like all these kids. Because I think what's it called, MSHTV. That's what I was watching. Because
middle school
like,
hoops.
Kind of that age. Yeah. So I was like, look, Kyrie Walker. Like that was when Julian Newman, people thought he was still good at basketball. But I was like, if I'm in the same court as these guys, I'll definitely be able to, you know, give it to them. And I was like, the only way I can be on the same court as them is if I'm over there. So that was my main thing in my head.
Right, okay. Yeah, fair enough. That makes sense. So you tried to go in year 10. Visa was denied. Because on what basis was it denied?
I actually don't know. I don't know. I think they thought the school was shady. It was a pop-up prep school. I remember that. It was cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you had no concerns about your eligibility at that point, leaving before you completed your GCSEs?
Jesse told me, but I didn't care. I mean, and the thing is, it only really matters if you take your GCSEs. If you do that 4 years in high school, you know, it's just like normal high school. Okay,
so you tried in year 10, it didn't happen, and then of course you decided to go to Barking Abbey. What made you decide to go to Barking Abbey then? Was that because the States wasn't an option, so you knew you had to stay in the UK, and why not stay at Canterbury? Why make the option to go to Barking Abbey?
Jesse told me, like, it's the next step. And I believed him, and, you know, I'm obviously not going to argue with Jesse's opinion because it's Jesse. So I was like, yeah, it's got to be the next step. They beat us in EABL. I guess they're doing something right. So, yeah, I didn't think it was that hard to make that decision.
And obviously you ended up doing basically half a season, right? You left in what, January, February time?
Yeah, January 1st.
January 1st, yeah. Because I remember the last tournament you played in was the BTM tournament at UEL, and I didn't even realise you'd left. And then I can't remember who I spoke to, and I was like, oh, I don't know where I said, how's Sam doing or something like that. And they're like, oh, he's not even here anymore. I was like, what? And yeah, obviously I found out you'd left. So kind of what happened? What were the circumstances around your departure? Obviously, you know, leaving mid-season is never ideal, right?
Yeah, but the visa stuff, like, it would all be cleared up because you have to, you know, there's like a 1 hour thing. I mean, not 1 hour, 1 year, you know, kind of reset time on your visa before you can apply again. So that would all be cleared up. Like, it was still in my mind. Like, going to the States was always in my mind. Like, always. Because, you know, that's what I just wanted to be. That's what I thought I could be able to prove myself. So that was always in the back of my mind. I was playing for Barking. Like, I had a few good games. I thought I was kind of inconsistent there. What can I say? I just thought my goals, like my goals are still big, obviously. I still wanted to play high major. And it was like, I was just looking around. I was like, Like no one's, Cam was the first guy to go high major out the UK. Like, so it was like straight out the UK. And I was like, well, no one's really gone high major. I started talking. I kind of think people did get in my ear from the US,
Really?
like win me over.
Like, what are you talking about? Like high school coaches saying you need to come here. This is where you're going to get exposure. If you stay in the UK, it's not going to work. Like,
yeah,
really,
yeah,
interesting.
I mean, but I did have like interest. I had like the Montana State offer already. I had like North Carolina A&T. So I did have 2 Division I schools at that time. I had a lot of interest though. I had like big interest from West Virginia, which actually, like was a good reason why I actually moved to a school in West Virginia. So yeah.
Okay, so that's interesting. So even though you were still in the UK, you were still getting Division 1 interest. So it's not like it was like completely unobtainable if you stayed in the UK. Like you had options already, but you still felt like it was necessary. Well, obviously people potentially got on your ear a little bit, and you felt like, if you went out there, it would increase your options. You potentially get more offers. Like, was that the goal? Like, yeah, like what were you thinking?
Yeah, I mean, it was just, I knew if I got the stage, I'll be able to prove myself. I never doubted my ability to, to go out there and kill whoever's in front of me. So, I mean, yeah, it was a hard decision because obviously ANGT was coming up. That was obviously a great, a great opportunity to get exposure. So it was hard, but in the end of the day, I thought, I did what was good for myself. Like, obviously, I can't go down every route and see how it would turn out. So who knows if it was the best decision. But, I made it work. So, yeah.
Yeah, like I was going to say, like right now, do you have any regrets? Like, if you were to go back, whether it be at 16, 17, and kind of look at the route that you ended up taking, is there anything that you, like, if you were to go back and talk to yourself, is there anything that you would have said to your, I say younger self, like it was that long ago, but like, is there anything that you would have said, you should do this differently, potentially consider this, or do you feel like actually no, it's all worked out as I would have hoped so far?
What would I change? Would I change anything? I don't think so. I think I'm cool with how everything turned out. I'm going to a good school.
Yeah.
I'm happy with it.
Okay, so you ended up leaving Barking Abbey. Just quickly before you did, I'd just be interested in hearing, like, in those, how long were you there for? What? So did you joined in September, like term times, September? So you were there from September to January. So what's that? September, October, November, December, 4 months ish. Before you left for the US, did you feel like that was the step up that you'd wanted in the UK compared to kind of what you'd been doing previously at Canterbury? Like, the level of players that you were playing against at practice every day, the level of competition that you were playing, like, kind of, yeah, I guess what were the differences and had it kind of met your goal of originally why you'd chosen to go to Barking Abbey?
Yeah, 100%. For me, I just wanted to compete every day, I didn't want to have to wait for a game to actually compete with someone, So, yeah, I knew if I stayed Canterbury another year, obviously I was going to be the best player. And when I got to Barking, it was like, we got Veron now. We can guard Veron. We can play one-on-one with someone who can actually, score on you, Like, so, yeah, I mean, it lived up to everything I wanted. I wanted to compete with my teammates every day, and I ended up doing that, yeah.
Did you have any moments in England where you felt kind of, I don't know what the right word is, like kind of out, not necessarily out of your depth, but like when you kind of you matching up with someone and you're like, this is tough, like, this is really pushing me?
A funny thing is, in like year 8, year 9, I don't think it happened in year 10. So year 8 and year 9, I wasn't that good, but I was getting better. And every time we'd be playing national schools, right? Every time. Guess who I ran into? Every single time. Cameron Hildreth. Scored like 50 on us. Hit like 10 threes. I'm like, how can he even shoot that far? His arms are like the size of my pinky. Like, what's going on? So every time I would score like a good like 35, 40, but he would always 50-piece us. And every time we thought we were going to win the game, he'd hit 4 threes and they're back in the game easily. But I mean, actually, I think it was year 9. We actually got... one of their coaches was a ref, and he screwed us over, and he knows it. He screwed us over. I was driving on I don't know his name, but he played for Worthing as well. I was driving on him. He slapped it out of bounds. They said it went off my leg. Like, it didn't. It was a foul. It didn't. Oh, I can argue that. I remember it like it was yesterday because I really wanted to beat Cameron at that time because he was better than me. So, like, I wanted to beat him so bad. And, yeah, I felt robbed. But I think when I was getting older, out of my depth, probably working out and practicing with Jonathan Brown when he was coming into his own in practice, you know, playing Division One, probably Zaire Taylor. He hits like a fadeaway through. I was like, how are you hitting a fadeaway through with someone who's bigger and longer than you? Who else was really good? Someone that doesn't really get mentioned a lot, a Hemel, Greg Polian. He was really tough to guard as well. Trying to think.
Do you feel like, interesting, like obviously, you know, you're in when you're at Barking Abbey, it's a unique situation for the players that are there in the sense of they're playing Division One men, which, you know, most other academy programs aren't able to offer that situation. But I'd be interested in hearing, like, obviously you're potentially playing Division One men. You've come to the States now. You've done a season and a half. Well, not a season and a half because you're not through this season. But you've gone against the US competition. Surely Division One men is actually a tougher standard of competition than US high school.
US high school, of course, yes, it's better. But like when you get to the higher end of US high school, I think there's some things that if they just matched up, like Division One's always going to be better basketball players, of course, but there's just some kids here that are so long and athletic. Is like, you know, like whole teams that are just long and athletic. I remember last year when I was at Beckley, I played against a team called Hampton Heights. They were like number 7 in the nation, actually. They had a Russian kid called Samson. He goes to Florida. But they had this 7-foot, like, athletic, long center, and he sent our forward shots to the third stand every single time they shoot anything. Like, I was just popping threes off pick and rolls just because if it goes inside, we're hopeless. I think that's the only way like a elite prep school would be able to be a Division One team, just like on the boards and defensively, you know. Like skill wise and like basketball IQ wise, it doesn't compare. Like Division One men are great basketball players, and that's undeniable.
So the allure to the States, does it ultimately come down to exposure? Like, you know, coaches actually, because one of the things that I've kind of heard consistently is that, well, and I've seen consistently, is that American coaches want to see players against American competition, and they find it hard to judge players against. Well, there's almost like a level of disrespect, you know, of like, okay, you know, if you were averaging 20 a game in Division One men over here, there's almost like a lot of coaches wouldn't really know how to gauge how good that is, when actually that probably puts you better than most kids that are doing whatever they're doing in high school in the States. Like, do you feel like that's a fair assessment? Do you feel like the allure to the US high school route is the fact that there's that sort of measuring stick, and it's what coaches want to see? Like when coaches were kind of getting in your ear, like, is that what they were saying? Like, I'll just be interested in kind of hear what you think about that.
Yeah, even college coaches were saying that. Like, it was a certain high major school, but obviously I can't say the name.
Mm-hmm.
And they were like, I was like, yeah, I'm doing pretty good. It was actually, they called me right after the BTM final. I was like, I'm doing pretty good. Like, I think I had like 15 points. You know, I hit a couple threes. I got nice blocks. And they're like, I don't care about no British competition. What are you talking about? I was like, okay, all right, coach. I'm telling you, they're good over here. So I don't care.
Even though technically that was against Cameron Hildreth, who's obviously now committed to Wake Forest, you know, like, it's crazy.
But it's like, to be able to actually be a good scorer in high school, like elite, like you got to think spacing's terrible. Like, spacing's terrible because the 3-point line's pushed all the way in, first of all. So, like, you actually have less space to operate with. The defense, you can argue they're more flag, you know, in the elite place. So, I mean, when they're using that measuring stick, it kind of makes sense, but Division One man, I don't think it makes as much sense because you still have great defenders in Division One.
Yeah. So that move to the States, 2000. So it was January 1st, 2020. Yeah. So that was almost a little over a year ago. You first attended Beckley Prep in Virginia, which I assume, as you've already alluded to, that was because of the interest from West Virginia. How did you find the transition, like from England to the US, like on the court? I guess you probably did you have 2 months of a season before it was cancelled? Like, kind of what ended up happening with coronavirus? Like, I'd just be interested in hearing sort of that initial transition.
Yeah, first 2 months of the season kind of sucked, but it is what it is. You can't change it. Transition. The thing for me is, like, they told me, like, we're expecting you to take a while to transition, but we're expecting you not to take a while because, you're athletic as hell. So, I mean, it took, like, a game before I was, acclimated.
Took one game, yeah?
Yeah, it's because, like, we were scrimmaging and working out with JUCO guys, and there's an NAIA school around, like, in our town as well, and it's a high-level NAIA, so they were good as well. I was working out with their guys, and they were giving me tips. One of our guys was actually Oscar Shibwe. He was a West Virginia star. He's now at Kentucky. It was his brother, so I had, like, college guys giving me tips as well. So, like, I just tried to soak everything in and actually be coached, and it worked out pretty quickly that, I was good, and, I could adjust pretty easily because, like, I was athletic, basically. Like, most of it is defense, like, for guys adjusting, because most people's first step in America is, like on the scouting report here is, like, fast for first step, but that's just the default first step for a lot of guys, So that's one thing I realized, like, anyone will try and score on you. They don't care who you are. Like, in England, you walk into a gym, people are already looking at you. It's like, oh, that's Sam Alajiki, oh, that's, that's him, that's that. And it's like, they don't care about you, They don't. They're going to go at you anyway. It's not like that everywhere, so, yeah.
The level of competitiveness and complete lack of intimidation is just completely different. And I don't know whether I don't know if it's like a British cultural thing where, like, there is, I feel like, we are a bit more intimidated, especially compared to Americans, like, completely different world. Did you find the interest, of course, like, by the time you ended up committing to Cal, you had, I think, 17 Division 1 offers on the table at that point. Before you obviously left the UK, you were sitting on 2. Did the interest from how quickly did the interest from other schools start coming? Like, kind of how quickly did it happen?
At first, it was kind of slow because people were still skeptical. One thing about Beckley that was it could have gone the way of my recruitment is that as soon as I came, our point guard just graduated, just left the school, just left, vanished. So coach sat me down. He's like, Sam, you're playing point guard this season. I was like, I was just playing the 4 of Barking, coming off the bench, like, So, if I had to adjust to anything, it was probably playing point guard. So I feel like all of them were saying, but we don't want to see, like, you play a point guard. We're recruiting you as a wing. We want to see you be a wing. So I think that kind of slowed me down. But as, like, some of my teammates started to actually step up and play point guard, I got to, be more of a wing. That's when you saw me shoot a crazy amount of jump shots, take it to the rim, So, like, as soon as I could show, like, my full set of abilities instead of just, bring the ball down the court, pick and roll, hook pass, someone hits a 3 or center dunks it. Like, as soon as I was able to, like, display, my wing skills and actually, like, what they're recruiting me for, it just skyrocketed, I guess.
Have you found the X's and O's side of things higher level in the US compared to what you were having in England, or do you feel like it's the same, or do you feel like it's less?
I mean, the thing about England is, like, there's great coaches in England. Like, there's, like, great coaches. Like, James Veer's a great coach. Lloyd's a great coach. Jesse was a great coach for me. Those are the guys I got coached by. Adam Davies was great. Coach Billy was great. Like, even, like, S&C Physio, I had great coaches. I had Mark Dayson, so he was great. Everyone knows Mark. So, X's and O's in Beckley, it was cool. Like, but you know, he wanted us to, you know, display our talent to get to college. So, you know, he let us kind of do our stuff. But in crucial times, we did execute. You know, we did run plays. In Benedicts, like where I am now, Coach Taylor's phenomenal, man. Like, you know, you just look at his resume. He's had how many NBA players under him. Like, you can't deny what he's doing. So, yeah, he's great. I think his X and O's elite. Like, he's different. He's really different.
So the season actually ended up being cancelled, your season, 2019-20?
Yeah. In Beckley, yeah, it just got cancelled. We had to shut down.
At what point? Was that in March, I assume?
Yeah, early March, yeah.
And so did you stay in the States all last summer?
Yeah, I was just working out.
What was the situation with lockdowns and stuff? I know it feels like the States has been quite loose compared to Europe and other places.
When I lived in West Virginia, I went to a private school, so we had our own gym, and I had the keys. They gave me the keys to the gym like my first day of school, so and my training was still there, so it just worked out every day basically.
Right. Okay. And then you committed. Did you commit? You committed in the summer. I'm trying to think. I don't even have a note of the date that it was, but it was in the summer.
Committed in November.
November. Okay. Why did you make the choice to commit early?
Early, I knew what I wanted from the start. Since I started playing basketball seriously, I saw what I wanted, so I committed. Like, you know, like Cal was everything I wanted. You know, high academics. I'm gonna play high major. You know, Pac-12. I'm gonna play against everyone. So yeah, it's exactly what I wanted. Coach Fox was great. Coach Harriman was great. Coach Martin was great. So yeah, it wasn't hard for me.
What are the biggest things that attracted you to Cal in comparison to, you know, the other options that were potentially on the table? Who did you do 5 visits? Like, did you shortlist schools? Like, kind of, what was your entire process like with recruitment?
I only got to visit West Virginia before everything got shut down, so that was the only visit I got to do. I shortlisted privately. I didn't post like a top 5 or anything. I had Georgetown, Stanford, Cal, and Notre Dame. So those were my top 5, top 4. But yeah, I mean, Coach Fox was very honest. Our first conversation, he offered me. He was like, "Yeah, we want you to be at Cal. I'm gonna offer you." I was like, "Great, thanks." So he was always straightforward with me. He told me exactly what he wanted. I said, "Yeah, I can do that." And yeah, it wasn't anything too complicated.
When you talk about the role that you envisage having there, like, what have they said to you? You know, do you have any concerns about? Obviously, it's a high level, right? Like, do you have any concerns about seeing the floor, getting minutes, proving you're of that level? Like, kind of, what's your mindset around it?
Well, for me, I know. I'm confident in myself. I'm sure I'll see the floor. They want me to shoot, I can shoot. You know, they want me to attack the rim, I can attack the rim. I can defend all 5 positions. I'm like 240 pounds. I don't think anyone's gonna, you know. So yeah, I don't think I'll have issues seeing the floor. I know that the other commits to Cal we took daily were all kind of the same. I mean, Marsalis is kind of a bit smaller than me and Obi, but we're all kind of the same build. You know, kind of wings. That's what they needed. I think. They have wings this year, but I mean, obviously they recruit wings for a reason, and they're recruiting me for a reason. So I don't think I'm just gonna sit there and, you know, just do nothing.
Is the goal for you to, just to be clear, because obviously sometimes it's not, but is the goal for you longer term to be a professional basketball player? Like, is that what you want career wise?
Yeah, I want to be a pro as soon as possible.
Okay.
As soon as it can happen, I want it to happen. So yeah.
When we talk about kind of like, you know, one of the ongoing conversations that happens regularly is about picking the right situation for the player, you know. And of course, you know, when you're weighing up options, there are options to go to a smaller school where potentially, you know, the level isn't as high, but it gives you an option to have the ball in your hands a lot more, and actually, you know, get numbers. I guess is the kind of blunt way of putting it, to put yourself on a pedestal to be able to get those looks. Kind of, I guess, when you're weighing up those options, when you're looking at, you know, potentially you could go to a lower level school. compared to going to a Pac-12 school, going to a high major program? Kind of how do you weigh up those options, and I guess how do you approach them?
So I was actually talking to my trainer about this. He told me straight up, like, I was telling him about Canterbury and how I moved to Barking. And he was like, yeah, like, great. Like, you should have moved to Barking. Like, you get to compete against the best guys every day, right? Same thing with, going to college. It was like, if you want to play low major and only be challenged when you play non-conference games, then okay. Then you do that, and we'll see. I'll see you in 5 years when you graduate college and get a job. And that's what he told me, and I was like, okay, I guess I want to play high major now. So yeah, I mean, there definitely were like lower major options on the table, to come in and have a big role. But I think there's beauty in the struggle. So fighting, and you can still play a big role in a high major school. You just have to be good, and I'm ready to do whatever it takes to get that role. So yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. Of course, this season, you made the switch to St Benedicts. Why did you make the switch? How did that decision come about?
So I actually have a relative who actually kind of works here, and he lives like 5 minutes away from my dorm where I'm staying now. But so he was really getting me conditioned to it, and we actually saw each other in Pennsylvania when we went to a tournament. So I wasn't expecting to run into him at all, and I saw what's his name, Charlie Lowe from Luffer as well. He played here last year, so we saw him. We had great talks about the school. I met the coaches. It was great. So in the summer, when I was actually looking to play at high level, which is probably a common theme in my story, always looking for something more. Yeah, I called him. He was like, yeah. I was like, okay, I need to see more. Show me some success stories. Like 10 minutes later, I was on the phone with Precious Achura from Miami Heat. So that was cool. I got to meet him too. He's a great guy. So he told me all about it. He was like, yeah, the good people, just you got to buy in. And that's very key, buying in. And so, it was hard because I was ingrained in the community in Beckley. I had a lot of close people I formed close bonds with, but I had to move on like I do in my life usually. So I just had to do what I had to do and come to Benedicts to become better.
Americans are so slick with their recruiting. Like get you on the phone with a Miami Heat player, like just like that. Like
he wasn't like he was in pre-draft,
okay,
while it was happening.
Right.
Got drafted when I was ready here.
Yeah, that makes sense. So you made the switch. What's been the status with your season? Like I know that it feels like you've just recently started. Like have you only just started? Like what's kind of happened with the 2020-21 season? And what was the original schedule before COVID? Like what was the normal schedule, and then kind of what have you ended up doing?
Like the normal schedule was kind of how it is every year. We thought we were gonna start in November, play regular season, play out of state. We haven't been able to. We didn't start in November. We played fall league and like all sorts of different tournaments. It's like we played as an AAU team. Like it wasn't even all Benedicts guys. It was like some guys from our team mixed with some outside guys just playing like kind of AAU tournaments, kind of fall league stuff. We played. That's where the Elite Academy thing from your post is. We played as Elite Academy. We played good teams though. We played against DJ Wagner's team, Camden. They were undefeated, they said, for like nearly a year. We beat them. And that's another thing about, getting to be on the stage with, the quote-unquote best. And, yeah, I mean, it was great. We pulled out a victory. It was nice. But anyways, back to the subject. We actually got to play in January, like mid-January. So we played like, I think we're 5-1 right now. We lost to Coach Matenga, Blair. So yeah, we're playing 5-1. I think we're playing like a 16 games schedule. So we're kind of, third through the season. We're only allowed to play in state, so we're not really allowed to go to play any of the, big tournaments that you're seeing on ESPN and stuff. unless we would be out there as well, kicking ass. But we're not allowed to do that.
So you got to stay in state. When's the season then scheduled to finish? If it's a 16-game slate,
I think March. Yeah, probably.
You'll have a postseason championship stuff like state championship and everything else.
I hope so, but I mean, with how COVID and stuff are going, especially in New York, New Jersey, I wouldn't bet against it being cancelled. So yeah.
Do you feel like it seems like the class of 2021 are the ones? Well, I mean, you can make arguments that the class of 2020 have been screwed pretty hard as well in terms of missing out on opportunities playing, March Madness. Like, obviously, I interviewed a Quasi, and you just think, like, that's just a tough thing to miss out on, like, when you come to the end of your college career or whatever. But, like, but when you talk about 2021, obviously, they've essentially waived the year of eligibility, right? So the players can stay another year, which means there's not a whole host of players that are graduating, which means there's not extra spots. Which has made it more difficult, right? So obviously players like you are actually in a pretty decent situation because you've signed early, you've committed, you're good. But have you had conversations with other players in your graduating class, especially when you talk about guys that are in the UK? I mean, unless you're playing Division 1 men or the BBL, like, you haven't had a season. So, we don't. When I think about the Hoopsfix All-Star Classic this summer, if it happens, I don't even know how we're going to do selection because we haven't even had a season to base it on. What are the conversations you've had with your peers, especially ones from the UK, kind of around this year, kind of how people are approaching, potentially next year, and sort of what they're going to do about college options and stuff like that?
Well, first of all, we need to get back to something. Eligibility. I have a story, but I'll answer your question first. So most of the guys, obviously they're not happy about everything. They're saying, like, it's hard to get recruited if you're not playing. But the only thing I can do for my friends is send me film. I have probably 100 college coaches on my phone. Like, pick who you want, and we can get stuff rolling. Being able to help my friends with get a few offers here and there. So that's always good. So I mean, just trying to make the best out of a bad situation. My friend Shegs is now he's in Beckley now, so he's playing there. So just trying to I'm privileged and I've got my school. I'm chilling, so it's just to turn back to everyone else and help as much as I can. So yeah.
And eligibility, what was the story?
Eligibility. So because I completed my GCSEs, I was actually eligible to be in the class of 2020. So I was actually gonna, this summer around like July, I was actually gonna commit to New Mexico and actually go there. So yeah, that was gonna be something that probably would have been a bit crazy. 17-year-old playing, Division 1, a good level. But I got that. I had an extra year already, but I got extra year of guaranteed eligibility. So I decided run it back a season. Let's get to a good school and see what happens. And it turned out well. So yeah.
Yeah. What are the sort of the Cal coaching staff saying about COVID and its potential impact on the season that you're going to join? Like, are they anticipating that potentially things are going to be back to normal, and they're hopefully going to play a full schedule and be in front of fans? Like, kind of what's the general sentiment on the ground about how it's going to end up panning out by the end of this year?
We're all hoping that it'll just go on as normal. Like, obviously vaccines are now rolling out everywhere. Got a couple of friends myself who be vaccinated, so it's supposed to reach the general public in around like July, August. So hopefully everyone can, well, it's your decision to get vaccinated or not, but everyone can, who wants to get vaccinated, then we can proceed towards a normal life. Obviously things aren't going to be normal until a few years from now, but like hopefully basketball can be normal. So yeah.
Are you planning on coming back to the UK this summer before you head to college, or do you think you're going to be staying in the States?
I got to see my mum, so yeah, I might be back. I got to go to Ireland as well. I have to see everyone because God knows when I'll be able to come back as soon as I get into college. So, well, not even. I'll probably be able to come back, but I probably won't necessarily want to because every day spent my chilling at home is another day. Someone's getting ahead of me on a draft board somewhere. So, I'll probably stick in college for, the whole ride.
Is the NBA the goal?
Of course, yeah. 100%.
How confident are you that you will be able to make the NBA?
Things go my way, 9, 10, out of 10. Like, I believe myself. I have the ability. I look good on paper, obviously. I can shoot the ball, so I don't think there's any issues.
When you say if things go your way, what do you think? Like, it'd be interesting to kind of hear your own assessment of your game. Like, what do you think would be the biggest barriers that would stop you reaching the goals that you've set yourself within basketball?
Biggest barriers? Well, everyone always wants to look at someone else, but the first biggest barrier is myself. You know, anything can happen to you. You can get hurt. You know, things could go wrong. You can fall into any sort of depression at any time. So, you know, the first biggest barrier is myself. Probably second biggest barrier would be something, you know, external, like something, you know, like something no one's expecting again, like COVID. Obviously, that'll be another barrier. And away from that, I don't think there'd be another barrier. Except I just, you know, one day decide to not play basketball anymore, which won't happen. So, yeah.
Makes sense. Right, let's do some quicker fire questions just to kind of wrap up. And let's start with your favorite basketball memory so far.
Favorite basketball memory. Favorite basketball memory. That's hard. Probably. That's hard. Actually, nah. That's very easy. My first Hoopsfix game. I'm not saying that just because of you, but like when you asked me to play Hoopsfix, I was actually in Czech Republic working out with Veron, and I was like, he texted me. I mean, we were in the same room. You texted him first, I think. So he was like, yeah, man, I just got selected the Hoopsfix game. And I was thinking it was a big group message. So I went back to my room. I was nearly crying. Like, I was hurt. I was very hurt. So I went back to my room and I got the text. I was like, what the hell? I ran to Ron. I was like, yo, I got in. And it just lit up my whole night. It was just great. So
that warms my heart. Like, like the selection messages don't all go out at the same time. There's very inconsistent timing. Like, it relies on a lot of different moving factors. So some people will get an invite. Other people think that they've been stubbed, and then they'll get a message and then they get a message a couple of days later. But that's really positive to hear. I'd be interested just to kind of talking about the classic, like general honest feedback and sort of be as critical as you like. But when you talk about sort of positive, negative, things that you would change, things that you'd like to see improved, as a player that's played in it twice, I'd be interested to kind of... I thought you did twice. Have you not had twice? No.
No, because COVID stopped this year, so...
Of course. So like, what would you... Yeah, what would be the feedback? Like, if there's anything that you would like to see changed, that you think would make it better, what would it be?
The only thing I didn't enjoy about it is that, personally, I think I should have got more PT. I don't know who was coaching. I forgot who was coaching that game, but whoever you are, I should have got PT. But
that's tough though. Like, I always say that to players. Like, it's so tough because we got 12 guys. Like,
you got the 12 best guys. It's like,
and no one's ever going to be happy. And I've had a few players send me upset messages after the game about not getting minutes. But it's one of the things where it's like either we do it, and we have some guys that play more than others, or we don't do it at all. Do you know what I mean? So, but yeah, that's fair enough.
I had Cameron Hildreth and Jeremy, so it was, at that time, I definitely wasn't, in their type of skill, range. So I couldn't complain. But I think it was great. Like, I wasn't expecting to play in front of so many people. It was probably my first time playing in front of that many people, and they were all actually cheering. And the dunk contest was great. I mean, everyone missed their dunks. That's probably why I won. I think JB.
Oh man, that dunk contest, man. Like, I'm not even gonna lie. Like, to be honest, going into that dunk contest, like looking at the lineup, I was like, this is gonna be decent. Like, I thought it was gonna be real decent, and it was just everyone kind of missed dunks, and I was just like, and it's one of the ones where we make decisions literally in real time about how many dunks people are gonna get, because it's like based on the vibe. Like, if the crowd's into it, okay, we'll keep going. We'll give another dunk, because obviously we want there to be as many good dunks as possible. But yeah, that one, 2019, it was it was definitely one of the slower ones. But you're the champion, man. You got the trophy.
You know what it was? In that Brixton gym, the far rim we did the close rim we did the dunk contest on is way higher than the other rim.
Really?
But yeah. You can ask any of the players. Like that rim was high. I remember grazing like one of my dunks. I was like, oh my god, if I missed that dunk, it's gonna be like everyone else. But like.
Okay,
No.
that's good to know, because we can, next time we go in, we can actually measure them beforehand and make sure that they are at decent heights, or potentially even bring them down an inch to make it a little bit better. Okay, that's good. That's good to know anyway. Okay, so enough about the classic. So you've done your favourite memory. Best British player that you've played with or against?
Oof. British player. In my age. Obviously, it's going to be Cameron and Jeremy. Like, I played against both of them. Great, obviously. And another one, then Camp Joshua DJ. Oh my God, dirty. Oh, I was like, I was happy averaging like 8 points in then Camp. Like Josh, he was going off. I was happy to see him like play that good. And it was like early in the season we played against him as well in NBL 4, and he was great again. He was hitting all those threes. I was like, this is not the same. Like he was not the same person to me, at least.
I feel like everyone's kind of forgotten about. He left obviously early, and he's one of them players that again we haven't seen in the UK for so long that you kind of just forget about him because he hasn't been here for so long. But is of course like super talented of that generation. So yeah, that makes sense. Best individual performance that you've ever witnessed?
Best individual performance I ever witnessed.
Yeah, you ever seen someone proper go off?
I can't remember the game. No, it was what's his name? Well, if it was in my time, like watching digitally, obviously it was Jeremy when he played against Barking. But if it was like when I was in the gym, I can't remember the specific game, but it was my first time actually watching the Adebayo play for Barking. He was playing against like our Crusaders, and like he must have dunked on everyone, like complete barrage. I was like, man, he's so long, he's so athletic, he was great. Like, man, like at that time he was so surreal to me. It was so surreal.
And then kind of, I guess on that note, who your basketball, I'll be interested in hearing who your basketball role models are. Obviously, the high level pros, the NBA players or whatever, but also, guys like Addy, like when you were coming up, when you were younger, that you were looking, that were a few years older than you, that you were sort of, that I guess were your role models that you were trying to be as good as.
The guy I was trying to play like when I first started, I remember Amin Adamu when he was playing D1. So athletic. I was like, man, I'm athletic. But I was trying to be like him. I remember I always wanted to play with composure like RJ Idle Rock. I always wanted to dunk like Dan Atkin, like just the Barking guys. And then I remember playing against Meisker in the playoffs. Eduardo Del Cadia, he hit like 8 threes against us. I was like, man, if I could shoot like that, I'll be straight, So it was kind of like those guys. Obviously, like I was watching James Lloyd up close. He was great. Jonathan Brown in that season as well. I think his senior year, he was amazing as well. Who else?
And what about like pros? Like, do you have NBA players that you look up to or anything like that?
Oh man, like since I started playing basketball, I wanted to be like DeMar DeRozan, man. I thought he was amazing. Like, I still think he's great. Obviously, I think he's kind of underrated now, but like, yeah, I wanted to be like DeMar DeRozan, 100%.
Why DeMar? That's a name that we don't hear as often as the LeBron James or the Kobe's or whoever. Like, why DeMar?
He was kind of my frame, athletic. At the time, I couldn't shoot threes. He couldn't shoot threes for his life, but he was still making it work. That was my whole thing. He had a nice handle. He could finish. He could post up anybody. He was nice. He was nice.
And then finally, let's say next 3 to 5 years, what the goals, the aspirations? Where do you want Sam Alajiki to be?
NBA player. I think I would play in the rookie game in the next 5 years, which would be nice. Just playing high level basketball. If not an NBA player, definitely stuffing up the Pac-12. Definitely. So that's my only 2 options, unless I'm going to be a very sad man moving forward.
That's a perfect place to leave it. Sam, thank you so much for taking the time. It's great to have a conversation. Like I said, you've been much requested by many players in the last few months, and so I'm glad to have finally done it. I wish you all the best with the remainder of the season, and hopefully if you're back this summer, we'll get a chance to catch up and potentially get you in the Hoopsfix All-Star Classic because I think it's going to happen the way things are going. So, I really appreciate it. All the best for the rest of the season.
That sounds great. Thank you. Thank you for having me.